So for this 10-minute material, we're going to be making two different woods. We're going to make a more natural wood and a wood plank. So we're going to start off with our base texture. We're going to get the clay strips tool. I have it set to 25 with the strength a little bit lower than normal. And we're just going to make a bunch of straight up and down lines with this. We're just going to try to keep our lines as close to straight as possible. You do want some variance to create that wood grain look. So we're just going to keep doing this, varying the thickness a bit until we've fully filled in the plane. If you don't want any knots in your texture, you can skip ahead to the timestamp. Otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to take the draw sharp tool and subtract, and we're going to make just some little holes around, and these are going to be our wood knots. Then we're going to take the clay strips again, and we're just going to go around these knots. We're going to try and build them up a little bit and show that the wood is curving around where these knots are. So we're just going to do that a little bit for each of them. And once we have those built up, what we're going to do is we're going to then go to the smooth tool, and we're just going to smooth inside these knots a little bit. We don't want the texture of the wood grain coming through inside the knots. So after we smooth that, we're going to go back to the draw sharp tool. We're going to shrink it down a little bit, and we're just going to draw some rings and circles inside of these knots. So just draw a bunch of little rings and circles. This just adds a tiny bit of difference in terms of our normal, our height map, and our color. So we're just going to do a little tiny bit there in each of the knots. If you didn't want to do knots and instead you're looking for planks, you want to switch your stroke method from space to line. And then we're going to follow the grid lines behind our plane, and we're just going to stroke a bunch of lines across it in an even pattern. And then we're going to do some horizontal lines as well to make our planks. So once we have that, either or, we can take it into our shading editor. It's the same process for both, shade smooth. Then what we're going to do is we're going to bake our normal map. So first make sure that your target is visible and your render camera isn't. Then we're going to create a new texture for our normal map. So name it whatever we want. In this case, I'm going to go with plank underscore normal. And then set your resolution. Again, we're going to set this resolution to twice the resolution we actually want our texture to be. Then we're going to go over to render. We're going to go down to bake. We're going to make sure we set it to normal. We need to flip the Y so that way our channels work for Unity. Select it to active, extrusion 0.1, and bake. And this is what popped out. I think this looks good. If you're doing this, if you play a lot with sculpting, you might get a lot of depth changes across your normal. If that's the case and your normal is too intense, you can do one of two things. You can change your normal scale in Unity, or you can go into your actual model here. You can select the material, and what you can do is you can scale it on the Z axis. And if you do that, that'll just flatten out the verts a little bit. And by flattening it out, you won't have as intense of changes. For what I made here, I think the original was fine, but if for some reason it's too intense, you can change it this way, so that way your normal map is baked properly. So once we have that, we're just going to save this and put it somewhere where we can find it. And then we're going to render our height map. After it's done rendering, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to save this as an image, and we're going to take it over into Photoshop. So in Photoshop, as per usual, we're going to crop down our images to the desired size. So we're going to do 2048 by 2048. And we're going to enable the pattern preview so we can make sure that they tile. I did check there is ways to check patterning in GIMP if you don't have Photoshop. It's a little bit more difficult, but one of the easier ways is to just duplicate the texture 4 times and check if you move one into each corner. If the texture seams with itself, then it should be texturing properly. But anyways, once we have both those done, we're going to create a new file. We're going to make it the same size as our crop texture, so in this case 2048 by 2048, and we're going to name it our material underscore base. So this will be our base map, and we're going to do this the same way we've done our base map for our other textures. We're going to paste in a copy of our height map. Now, since this is wood, and wood doesn't really have much smoothness to it or changes in metallic properties, we just need the one texture here. So we're going to go to Image, adjustments, and we're going to gradient map, and we're just going to find some good wood colors. We're going to pick whatever we think looks best for it. So play around with the gradient, play around with the stops, and try to get the effect you're looking for. You might have to add additional stops. For this one, I'm trying to go for a more natural kind of stripped log look since we have those visible knots. But for the planks, I went for more of a finished, stained plank look. So choose whatever you think looks best. With that done, we're going to save this and we're going to head over to Unity. We're going to put the textures into the right slots on our material. And I am using my custom material here for this. This material is basically a duplicate of the default lit material with just a little bit more control options. But yeah, apply it, play around with the settings to get the effect you want, and then your final result should look something like this. Depending on how you play with the coloring and the shading and everything, as well as your material settings, you can go for a more realistic look like the raw one, or you can go for a little bit more of a stylized approach like the planks are. And that's all there is to this one. Thank you for watching.